Good morning, everyone. I want to introduce to you my guest today, Lauren Santagate. And Lauren and I met through a mutual friend who we both really have a heart for, Becca. And I met Lauren as my first mentor in the Airbnb platform. As I was launching my Airbnb property management business, Lauren came in and really helped me get started with the launch. We worked together for about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and she taught me a lot of the basics and some of the in the trenches things too, which was really such an incredible support as I launched into the industry. And Lauren and Becca and I also have something else in common. We have all three been professionals in the network marketing arena. At some point, I'd like to share a little bit about that. But really, where I'd like to start is Lauren, will you share a little bit about your journey in real estate, your journey in property management, Airbnb? I know you have, last we spoke, 4 or 5 properties that you're managing and blessing people in the hospitality arena. So share a little bit about that.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me here, Anne. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, real estate. If I think back to when I was a kid, I was the kid who was constantly rearranging my room. Now, my parents didn't have a ton of money when I was growing up, and our house wasn't anything massive, and I didn't really get a lot of new things, but I took so much pleasure and pride when I was a child in rearranging my room. I would rearrange it, move the furniture, redecorate with what I already had. Sometimes my parents would let me paint a little bit. And so it was my decompressing place to go to, my room. I don't know, it just felt so good. So I think back, I love real estate. I love every single part of it. I've learned a lot over the past 5 or 6 years about the industry, but I think back, and that's like my earliest memory of how much I loved interior design and the layouts of rooms and making things feel cozy for the person that was going to be in it. So I have tons of experience and practice when it comes to buying properties, selling properties, managing properties. I just got my real estate license in the past year, and I just love helping people find a home or find a place to stay short term. So I fell into real estate by mistake. About 6 years ago, my husband and I started toying with the idea of buying a vacation property for ourselves. And we very quickly realized that we didn't have any money to do that with. So we had 3 kids. We were on a pretty tight budget, and it was like, well, we could buy a vacation, house for ourselves, but we can't afford it. Number one. Number two, it's probably going to need some renovation, and we can't afford that either. And so we started this fund in our bank account. It was a savings account called the A-frame account because I love A-frame houses. I love them. And this is back in 2018. And every time one of us got a little bit of extra money or we saved or whatever happened, we'd put it into the A-frame account. Over the course of about a year and a half, it grew, not very much. It was less than 5 figures. It was a very small account when you're thinking in the terms of buying a home. But we really wanted to have a place we could take our kids to where they grew up, where we could bring family together, and just enjoy. Obviously, real estate's expensive. And so all of a sudden, one day, I happened to be on some blog I was reading, and I started learning about Airbnb and short term rentals. And I thought, well, that could be kind of cool. What if we found a place that we could actually rent out to help pay for itself instead of us carrying the mortgage and all the utilities? And so we started searching and very quickly realized that number one, we didn't have a lot of money to put down for a home. And number two, there just wasn't a lot of homes that really kind of caught our attention. We were looking for a pretty specific thing in a pretty specific price range. And one day, my husband just kind of expanded a little bit his price range search and found this A frame home. And he sent it to me, and I was like, that's it. It was ugly. It was brown. It was very 1980s. Everything was a different shade of brown. It
Is this
had
the one in Guilford?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It had actually been on the market previously, had been under contract, and the financing fell through for the person that was trying to buy it. And so it came back on, and we were up there within 24 hours to see it. We walked in and we were like, it's done. Well, I had so many ideas because again, interior design is my passion. And so we bought that place and did some minor cosmetic stuff, got it on Airbnb and started hosting short-term renters within about a 2 month period. And it went really well for the first few months. And then COVID happened. And we were like, oh no, what does this mean? But we were very blessed to have a ton of people continue to book even through COVID. And we quickly realized that we had learned so much in a short amount of time that we wanted to duplicate it. And so we went out and bought another property within about 6 months and just kind of kept like wash, rinse, repeat, right? We knew what we knew. We didn't know what we didn't know, but we saw that it was working, and we saw there was a huge demand for people wanting to escape the city, go to the country, go to the woods, be outside, have some space to call their own. And I really love the idea of creating something that was unique for people when they came. And so that's what we did. We've purchased, I think, 6 properties. We've sold 2 in the meantime. We are about to sell another. We love it. We love hosting people. And I love every aspect of giving people a memorable experience. So many things in this world are so fast paced that people want to just slow down a little bit. And so I like creating those spaces where they can. And on the property management side of things, I always said, I don't want to pay a property management company money to do the things that I can probably do myself. I'm a stay at home, work from home mom. So I do have some free time. And I figured I can just learn how to do this on my own, even if it's from a couple hours away. And so we automate all of our systems and just make sure our guest experience is a really good one. It's worked out really well for us. We've been self managing every single one of our properties across the board since day one. Of course,
That's
we have local
fantastic.
people that help, but as far as like big picture stuff, I say we, but really it's me.
Yeah.
Um, do it all, and I love it. I really love the hospitality side of things, and giving people a place to go and feel really comfortable in, as a home away from home.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I took your course when I first got started. You had this course. How do you feel that your personality and leadership skills have helped you to process through owning all these properties? Share with me your leadership skills and how you apply them.
Well, in the beginning, when we mentioned to a few family members that we were going to buy a place to put on Airbnb, the immediate reaction was, that's a bad idea. It's too risky. What if, what if, what if, what if? And I'm unfortunately a very pessimistic person when it comes to a lot of things. But I was like, what's the worst case scenario? And that's kind of been like a good reality check for me over the course of the past 6 years is, what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is this doesn't work out and we sell the house. And so I've really tried to, lead through this entire process as we learned. And trust me, we have learned a lot. We have made some mistakes for sure. We still make mistakes here and there, but I'm just kind of always open to learning a better way to do everything. I try not to stay stuck in the way we do stuff. I'm constantly looking at what everybody else is doing. I'm constantly editing our listings online or our photos or making sure I get up there to, change around the decor. I like to be on the front end of change versus be reactive and sort of miss the boat on some things. So once in my life, I think I did enough research to know that it was a risk, but it was a calculated risk. And I also knew the payoff on the other side was going to be really impactful for us, as a family, and also just for me being able to pursue something that I really loved, and having that open mind and forward thinking, and really sitting back in the idea of what is the worst case scenario. And if the worst case scenario really isn't that bad, I just went for it, and
Yeah.
that's what happened, and it all worked out.
That's awesome. Yeah, and your timing was so impeccable. I mean, unbeknownst to you, because the whole COVID thing, as much as it was a disaster, was an amazing gift in the real estate industry. I hear a level of intuitive trust. And it sounds like your husband is also very much open. Am I right that he's been a great partner to collaborate with?
Yeah, we're both very much figure it out people. There have been a lot of things that we have done before we were ready. Are you ever really ready? Not really. And we both know that we'll figure it out. We're smart. We've done a lot of things on our own that most people probably haven't necessarily had to do or gotten the chance or the opportunity to do. And we've always just been, well, we'll figure it out. We're smart people. We are
Yeah.
resourceful. We definitely both have different strengths and weaknesses. And I think we play off each other and kind of balance each other really well. But the thought that leads us the most is, we'll figure it out. We'll just go. And if
Yeah.
something breaks, we'll fix it. And if something needs to be changed, we'll change it, versus falling into this unraveling despair of, oh my gosh, something happened. It's life. Something's always going to happen. It's all about how you react to it. And if you're ready for it versus, coming undone. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I love the attitude of we'll figure it out and there's always a solution. There's always a way. I've had things in my life happen that have been, oh my God, no, what do I do now? What do I do? And then I go, wait a second, just breathe. There's a solution.
yeah.
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You and I talked last week, and I want to move into the story about your youngest daughter and how her desire to move into faith has affected you and what you're learning, what you're moving through in that. I'd love for you to share that story about your little girl.
Sure. So my youngest is she's 7. So she's very little. But I will say since the day she was born, she has made me reconsider my perspective on a lot of things because she is very hard-headed. She's just very wise. She comes from a different thought process than my other two children do and different than I do as well. And so she's always sort of challenged me, I think, and thrown things at me that I definitely was not ready for. She's the youngest of 3, so she's already kind of a little bit wild and we call her feral, but she's wonderful and she's empathetic and she's so kind and she cares so much about animals, about nature, about other people, and she loves to share that. She's just an amazing kid. And so about 4 or 5 months ago, now I will kind of preface this with we don't go to church and that's not a bad or good thing. It's just it's the reality of the situation. I grew up with parents who were raised very strict Catholic, and they got married and decided that that was not for them, and so they sort of leaned the complete other way and raised my brother and I without any faith or religious influence at all. And my husband's sort of the same, and so we're not necessarily people that talk about God or believing or having that faith because we don't really know what to talk about. So my youngest daughter, about 4 or 5 months ago, sitting on the couch one day after school, and she's like, "Hey mom, will you pray with me before bed?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." I don't really know how to pray, but okay, sure, we'll figure this out together. And so we did. And then we did it again the next night. And then a few weeks later, we did it again. And it was all driven by her. So I'm kind of like, all right, like we'll kind of go with the flow. And it's sometimes it's sort of turned into, I would say it's more of what she's grateful for, which I love. We've always practiced gratitude with our kids, and I'm huge on that. But she'd pray to God and she'd want me to sit with her or she'd want me to do it with her. And so that was fine. That was good. Then we kind of didn't do that anymore. She didn't mention it, so I didn't really bring it up. And then a couple months ago, she said, "Hey, why don't we go to church?" And I was like, "Right now?" It's like a Wednesday night. And she's like, "No, but I want to go to church." And so she said it. And I think back now, I probably ignored it a little bit because I was like, "Oh, I haven't been to church outside of weddings and funerals. I haven't been to church since I was 12. We're talking 30 plus years. I wouldn't know where to go. I wouldn't know what to do." And so I kind of ignored it because I didn't really want to take her. But then just last week, actually, before we spoke and reconnected, she said it again. And she said, "I really want to go to church." And so I reached out to a friend of mine who went through a little bit of a journey over the past few years with her and her own mother and her son. And I was like, "Hey, what should I do with this?" She's 7. I don't know how to proceed because this is way out of my comfort zone. I don't know where to go, what to do. And so a friend started giving me some advice just to take her and let her explore that and see where it goes. And at first I was kind of like, do I really want to do this? Because again, I wasn't necessarily raised having it with a bad connotation, but it wasn't ever something that we were open to. What I've realized is, me not being open to it with her is kind of doing her a disservice because it's not up to me to choose what she believes in or who she believes in or whatever. So we're going to go to church. We've been doing some research. I went and I said to her a few days later, I said, "Presley, how about you and I go explore some churches? There's some local ones I found. We can go. I don't really know anything about it, but why don't we go together? And if you like it, we can keep going. It can be a thing we do together. And if you don't like it, that's okay too." And so we're going to start probably next weekend. It'll kind of be a nice little thing for just me and her. I generally think I'm a pretty open-minded person, but I know there are certainly some things where I am not as open-minded as that I would want to be. And I would say like any sort of religion or faith is probably one of them. She challenged me to change my mindset on it.
Wow.
And now it has me reconsidering a little bit, thinking, you know, right, religion, faith is such a polarizing topic, and there's a lot of emotions that people have about a lot of it. I'm just sort of very neutral, and so it's not necessarily a bad or a good thing for me. I would like to learn a little bit more, or at least provide some sort of pathway if she decides she wants to learn more. I don't want to be the thing that stands in her way. So that's what we are going to do.
Man, I love that you're so willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That is huge. And I can totally appreciate walking into a building where you know nobody and you know it's faith driven. I go to church and sometimes I don't go to church, whatever. It's not about church. To me, it's more about the spiritual connection. And I have a direct line. I don't have
Mhm.
to go to a building to have that spiritual connection. But I love that you're willing to just go into a place where you know nothing and just be like, all right, I'm doing this for her,
Mhm.
but also where can I grow and learn from this? That's a huge blessing to be able to show her and to live for yourself. It's
Yeah. Well,
wonderful.
and you know what? Like, I think in this world right now, I shouldn't say especially for girls, but I am a girl and I grew up being a girl. And so I know there's certain challenges they're going to face. And I don't want them to be closed off to things that they actually might love just because somebody else they know was closed off to those things at some point or another. It's a chance for me to continue to learn. I'm a huge believer in the idea that if you aren't learning something new every single day, you're going backwards. Whether or not it helps you, whether or not you love what you learn, whether or not you ever apply it to your life. I just think it's crazy to not try to learn as much as you can
Yes.
while you're here. But if she's willing to be confident enough to make a decision that she wants to go do something that maybe no one else wants to do, I'm all for that because we need
That's
more people like that.
yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And it is an individual journey. It's,
Mhm.
each of us has our own spot and our own destination in the process. Wow. I love her name, Presley.
Yeah, yeah. Now she started saying that she's like, "Well, I'm named after Elvis," and I was like, "Well, you're really not, but now that you think you are, I guess you can continue with that story." Again, third child, very opinionated. I'm like, Presley, one day you are going to rule the world. She's such a good little kid.
Oh, awesome. Oh my gosh, I love it. Let's just have a brief conversation about network marketing because I know for you and actually for Becca and myself, we've had our own story within it and we've also had our own exit and reconnection. I don't know if you're doing anything with multi-level marketing now. Becca is in a whole different place, as am I, and I'm doing it my way this time. And it just happens to fit in one little area of my life. And I do love products. There's a lot of people that are promoting products that are phenomenal. So, anyway, share with me a little bit about your multi level marketing, network marketing story.
Yeah, well, I had a great career. I was always one of those women that was like, I'm absolutely going to be a mom, but my kids are absolutely going to go to daycare because I'm absolutely going to be the CEO of a company in a corner office in New York City and I will never be a stay-at-home mom. I wrote it in my diary when I was 11. My mom just showed it to me about a year ago.
Wow.
I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and she was awesome. So I don't know why I had that, but I think it was like the nonconformist, like I want to go do and prove to the world that I can be this force in business. And so I did that. And then I had my first baby and we ended up moving and my career kind of shifted. And then my second baby was born and I could not continue what I was doing. It was just a lot of travel and it was 60 plus hours a week and I loved it. And my persona was my career. I had kids. It's impossible to have a life that's defined by your career and be a mom because I mean, maybe
Totally.
it's not impossible, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And so I ended up transitioning to stay at home mom full time. And man, that was like whiplash. This was not what I wanted. I think the biggest part was that I always tied my worth to how much money I was making, which makes sense. But at the same time, like really not when you think about it. And so I was the stay at home mom with two kids, a 2 year old and a baby. I need to make some money because if I don't, I'm going to go stir crazy. I need something for myself. And that's sort of where direct sales network marketing came into the picture. A friend of mine from where we used to live was involved and she was like, you can make some extra money. Like, why not? And I was like, okay, why not? Like, I can be with my kids because we can't afford daycare right now because I'm not making any money. But I can also make a little money to help out with different stuff. So I just kind of jumped in. I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. And I started making a little bit of money, $250, $500. And it was like, this feels amazing. It gave me back confidence. I definitely lost when I transitioned from career focus to being a stay-at-home mom. And then I learned more about the actual business side of it. And I realized, hey, I can actually treat this like something that's going to make a financial impact. I can scale it. I can do this while I'm being a mom. At this point now I have a third kid and I'm like, I can do all this. And I'm watching other women do it thinking, I can probably do it better and more efficiently than they can.
I love your
And
mindset.
so
I
because
am.
I didn't want to be totally involved. Now I will say it's hard not to be totally involved because it's very much community driven and impact driven. You kind of like get sucked in a little bit and then you pull out and you say, okay, what's working for me and what's not? And I ended up pulling away from a company I was with. I learned a lot, but I wasn't making any money. And after I learned what I needed to learn, I was like, this is not where I want to be anymore. And I made a move and I did not necessarily get a lot of support when I made that move, but it ended up being one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life to go with a startup company that I had found. A friend of a friend had reached out, and it turned into something bigger than I could have ever imagined for me. And I got to do it as somebody who was sort of like a leading force in it. I got to build it from the ground up.
Wow.
It was amazing. And took a company that was less than 1,200 people at the time when I came in to a company that was about 25,000 people, to around 20,000 of which became part of my organization. So it was
Wow, Lauren.
massive.
Holy smokes.
Timing.
Yeah.
People say timing isn't everything, and it's not everything, but it was a combination of the knowledge I had gained and the know how to go out and look for an opportunity and look for specific things. The timing played a part. And so I rode that wave and I built an amazing community and this amazing business that took some pressure off my husband, number one. Number two, it allowed us, when we got into real estate, it was prior to this happening, but as my business scaled, we scaled our real estate portfolio, and it allowed us to just start building some wealth for our kids, like putting some money in accounts for them. We didn't have that before. So it opened up a lot of
Yeah.
options and opportunities for us that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And I loved every single bit of it until I didn't. And then I have realized that I very much needed direct sales for that season of my life where I was looking to find myself again and looking to define myself as, who did I want to be and what did I need more of? It gave me some friendships I didn't have that I definitely needed. But then I also realized that parts of it that I needed 8 years ago, now I don't need those things anymore. I've definitely matured. I have learned a lot about myself and did a ton of self development. And to me now, what I make doesn't define who I am. Does money make life easier? Absolutely. But it also makes life more complicated in a lot of ways. And so I ended up sort of leaving the space completely in April of this past year. I do still get a little bit of a passive income on a monthly basis from it, but I started to feel like that tension of that friction of giving energy to something that no longer serves you. And it didn't feel like a want to anymore. It felt like a have to. And the second I realized that, I was like,
Yeah.
I think I'm done. And I love the industry. I think it's one of the smartest ways people can make money. I think there's so many amazing things that come out of it. But I also was very much a believer that at the level I was operating at, that was not sustainable for a long time. It was a lot.
Right.
It was like a
With
full-time job. I had always said, I want to get in and make a bunch of money and help a lot of other people make a bunch of money and make an impact and then get out because I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And now I'm, like I said, make a little bit of a passive check every month and still have amazing connections and friendships because of it. But my time has
yeah.
kind of
Would you
out.
would you say that you had a spiritual shift? Like when in April or March or whenever it was that you were like, what was that turning point? What made that decision to
It
shift?
was, I don't know. It was more like you get those like little nudges, right? And you can call them whatever you want to call them. I always say it's the universe kind of nudging you, probably because I didn't necessarily have a lot of faith in anything besides that. But certain things kept happening, and they were just little things that were very insignificant. But now, when I think back, I'm like, oh, right, that happened. It was like a sign, like, hey, wake up, you're not really in this anymore. And for me, if it's not like 100% yes, it's 100% no. Like, I don't want to be half into something. I don't think that serves me. I don't think that serves other people. And really, that's what direct sales is all about, is serving other people. And so I probably held on to that feeling of feeling like I should keep doing it because other people were depending on me, which isn't really true, for probably about 6 or 9 months too long. If I didn't want to lose the paycheck, I didn't want to ruffle feathers. But I think it got to a point where I was not serving anybody anymore. Like, I'm not showing up with that excitement. I'm not showing up with that drive I used to. And as my 7-year-old would say, if you're not filling somebody's bucket, you're probably helping to empty their bucket. And I didn't want to be showing up and draining other people from what they were so excited about. So, yeah, I mean, it could have been spiritual. The more you start to think about the little things that happen to you and when they happen, and you're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And you realize there's a pattern. And one day it was like, yeah, I think I need to pay more attention to this.
I think it's really important to pay attention, period. And we're all guilty of being numb or numbed down. I loved when you said you're either 100% in or 100% out. And that's how I am with my spirituality, with my faith. I'm 100% in because 100% out, I'm like, what is there? There's nothing for me. I was also thinking that when you were talking about network marketing, I share this part of my story. At one point, I looked at people as numbers. And as soon as that was aware in my spirit, I was like, oh my God, there's something wrong here. This is not good. This is not healthy. This is not serving anybody. Matter of fact, this is really dark. And
Yep.
that's when I took a whole shift, took a long time break. I didn't do anything for probably 4 or 5 years. And just recently I got into something that is like this much of my life and it fits for now. I'm also not following the standards of the industry. Because in the
Yep.
industry, a lot of times it's you got to do this, you got to go to this convention, you got to, be on these calls. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, for
Yeah.
me, this is about how can I bring this to serve God and to help others. So
Yeah.
that's where I am with
Yeah.
network marketing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too for me was that in my head there was always this imaginary goalpost of when I get there, I'll be happier, I'll be more patient with my kids, I'll be nicer to my husband, I'll be whatever it is. And then you get there and then you move the goalpost, right? Like I remember thinking I just want to make a paycheck of X amount, and then I made it in like my third month and I was like, okay, well now I want to double it. I didn't even take the second to feel
Yeah,
that accomplishment or that joy because of it. And so I probably about 2.5 years in, I was making more money than I could have ever imagined making, and I was still not happy. Like all the little issues that were there before, they're still there. The money might pay the bills, but the issues are still there and I'm not fixing them. And so it turned into I had always been like driven by money because I thought it would make me happier. It didn't make me happy. I was the same person that was still miserable in some ways. I had a great life, but there were still little issues. And so I think for me it was realizing that I need to work on me. I need to work on my relationships. I need to work on my connection with my husband and my connections with my kids and my friends, and the
yeah,
things that are actually important don't get fixed by a big paycheck.
yeah, yeah.
And that was the beginning of the end for me. It was kind of realizing like, yeah, this is great. And yeah, we have great retirement funds, but I'm still bickering with my husband about things that I don't really think are necessary. So I've got to work on some stuff.
That's
You know,
beautiful. That is so beautiful.
we're still
And
working.
when you live in a place of relationship with God, there's an eternal perspective. And to me, what you're sharing right there is about an eternal perspective. You're not just looking at what's here and now, you're looking at what can I bring value into long term. And I
Yeah.
just think that is really a beautiful way to live.
Yeah.
So I admire you for that so much because the money, the dollar can really take control. I mean, I know how I feel sometimes and I'll be like, all right, Ann, that's enough. Like,
Yeah.
can you trust? Can you live where you are and trust that provision is here? It's right
Yeah.
here, right now. Because honestly, Lauren, today is all we have anyway, right?
Right.
I mean, none of us are promised tomorrow.
Right.
Am I provided for today?
Yep.
Right?
And the
Yeah.
thing is, like, when is it ever going to be enough? This is such a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
The world we live in today, everyone needs more, right? You need more money, you need more land, you need a bigger house, you need a nicer
Yeah.
car, you need different shoes and better bag. And I'm like, when can we just realize that, like, everything you have a roof over your head, you have food in your fridge, you have water to drink, and you have people that love you? Like, that is all that really matters because no one's going to turn around and be like, wow, Lauren really had great investment accounts. When I die, no one's going to say that. I want them to say that she was an amazing person and a great mom and she was present and she was fun. And it's just like a wake up call because I don't think that people realize what you already have is enough. And it keeps coming back. It's like, why can't this be enough? It just keeps coming back in my head over and over and over again. It's been that way for about a year and a half. And I just keep thinking, like, especially as my kids ask for more stuff and you see people get a new car. And I'm like, oh, do I need a new car? No, that's not how it works. But it's hard to push against that. It's what's in front of us every single
Yeah.
day. You need more. You need more. I keep saying to my husband, I haven't figured out what I want to be when I grow up. I'm 43. And he's like, what do you mean? You are grown up. And I'm like, because for so long you chase certain things and then you realize when you have them that it didn't actually matter. And so I'm very much now settled into the idea of like, I just want to be a great mom. I just want to be a great wife. I want to be here cooking healthy meals for my family. I want to be present for my friend. Like I want to be the friend who drops off the birthday present, on the front end, not on the back end 5 days later. I want to be the person who makes other people feel like they're seen, like they're
Yes.
they're
Yes.
important. And I'm just settling into that idea that like, I can do that, and no amount of money makes me any better or worse at that. I can just do it now. Yeah. So it's like what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be happy, but it's hard to not feel like you shouldn't be chasing something. I'm so grateful and so blessed. And then at the same time, you still have those moments of like, what if I did this? What if I did that? So
Oh,
really trying to just, you know,
I'm an idea girl and
yeah,
I love creating things. Like
yeah.
I was just like, oh, maybe I should create a program for Airbnb people. And then, well, here I am doing a podcast. Anyway, I have so enjoyed this and I can't wait to hear the whole church story with your
I
daughter.
know, I know.
I can't wait to hear the outcome of that. And here's the funny part. I love this part that you and I have never met physically. Okay.
I know. We need to
So the
talk
next time
about
you're here,
that.
let's have tea or coffee or something.
I think about you often, although I don't actually get up there that often. Every time I do, I'm like, I should have just called her. And then, it's like I'm in and I'm out
Oh,
and I'm
good.
like hustling home,
Yeah.
but we need to for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about it's not what you know, it's who you know and
Yeah.
awesome relationships you get to make along the way.
It's so true. And
It's
the whole COVID thing and the whole virtual thing is such a blessing on that level because there's people I never would have met had this whole technology not come due to COVID, whatever. So
100%. Well, I'll
yeah.
certainly keep you updated on the church story. I'm excited. It's going to be a interesting experience. I'm actually most excited to sort of sit back and watch her.
Yes.
My friend was like, "You're gonna feel weird." She's like, "You're gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna feel out of place. Don't let how you feel impact how she feels. She's
Beautiful.
she's probably gonna love it." She's like, "There's gonna be a lot of music that she's probably gonna want to stand up." She's like, "You don't have to, but let her live it out. Don't dictate how she does that." And I was like, "You're so right." So I'm grateful that I have people in my life, and you included, who can kind of like guide me a little bit because I'm open, but I'm like clueless.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's beautiful. I love being encouraged along the journey. There's a verse in the Bible that says iron sharpens iron, and there's
Yes.
another one that says she who refreshes others will be refreshed. So I love that. It's what we're designed for, to
Yep.
love on and to encourage each other, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
This has been so nice. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time and joining
Thanks for
me. And
having me. I'm excited for you, and this is great.
yeah, I look forward to what's to come.
Me too. Me too. Always big things in the horizon. I'm
That's
like,
right. That's
the
right.
more you put it out there, the more it comes back to you. So I'm excited to see what you're up to. It's fun to celebrate other people who are doing things that make them feel good,
Yeah.
that
Amen.
really fill their bucket. So
Well, have a beautiful, blessed day in the kingdom.
thank you so much, Anne.
All right. I'll see you soon.